Hello, hello. I'm hoping you can all hear me fine. Anne Rellins, if that's your name, welcome. Where's my phone? Just give me a sound check in the chat. Hopefully you can all hear me well. Good morning, good morning. Cool. And let's switch this over to trading view. Should be good. Sound level's good. Audio too low. Is that better? Hopefully it is. I'll check my input quickly. Now the input volume, it says it's high. Yeah. Is that maybe that should fix it? I'm not too sure. No audio. This isn't good. Now the input, it says it's high. Better? Okay, there we go. Let's go. Thank you everyone for joining. This is the first stream in a while. I'll go through all the questions in a minute. I'll cover kind of a brief overview of, what's happened, where I am, all of that stuff later. And any questions anyone has about anything, just drop it in the chat. Anything at all, I'll get to you all as well. So yeah, I'll cover Bitcoin first, and I'll cover all the questions as well as we go out throughout the stream. These are going to be a weekly occurrence going forward. People mugging you off. Okay, we're good. Okay, so let's just get into it. Bitcoin at the moment. I'm going to be so real with you. I think I've gone through so many different periods of trading, even since the last time we spoke. Something I realized through everyone that I've spoken to is, everyone seems to talk about what they think Bitcoin's going to do today. And I know I've titled this Bitcoin market analysis, etc. But in reality, I don't care whether Bitcoin does go up or does go down from here. I'm purely looking at what is going to benefit me today, how I'm going to be trading the market today going forward, and taking each day as it goes, while sticking to all my risk parameters. With that all being said, I did take a long trade here, so if I do get, I'll talk you through this as it goes through. I'll give a breakdown later on. I was hoping to catch it on the stream, but target will just be new highs, and if not, we're going to get stopped here. So, but yeah, that's really my outlook on things. I go through my daily morning routine, which is routine level checks, going through, hold on, let me move these down here. Going through my volume-based liquidity levels, my previous day levels, etc., and just going through and what I think. And yeah, in reality, that's the way it is. Hold on. Yeah, it's nothing that is too, I would say, I'm not going off of anything. It's off of hunch. Nothing's from hunch. It's all stats based. Even probably last time I did my live streams, everything was stats based then. But I've taken it to a complete another level, especially as the last few months have gone on, like the stats and etc. that I'm really diving into. Yeah, I've really taken my trading to another level, and I'll have an announcement towards the end of the stream, whatever, about that. But yeah, like for now, I really, in basic terminology, I'm going through, okay, today, for example, London session has put in the daily high. Okay, so if we just mark these all out. Okay, London session has put in the daily high so far. And if we just look in here, my expectation is for this to be taken out. My expectation for today is for this to be taken out and for the daily low to it's likely to hold. I think the only way this, so if you just mark this out, the daily low is down here. This is UTC. Whoa. I have no idea how many people are in this stream, by the way, because I just thought I'd go and do this here. Yeah, so we've got the high and the low of the day. It's more likely that this high sees continuation. I mean, if we're looking again in terms of regarding to, I'll go over the question as well in a minute. Daily structure. So my daily outlook is very different to what most people will be like. They'll take a massive top-down view and start going from there. My outlook is to be trading today. I'm looking at every single trade today. I'm not looking at what I'm going to be doing in the next few days. What am I doing today? And that is really the aspect that, if we're looking at daily lows here, since that point onwards, I think I've posted multiple times about this on X, that I'm always tracking from daily open. So if we just put on daily open here, which is here, this green arrow here, okay, we've been low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Who's to say this isn't a higher low? So I'm literally just tracking from that point of view, and it makes tracking structure much more easy, okay, rather than having to go through continuous, what is the fucking monthly doing, what's the weekly doing, what's the daily doing, just going through that aspect, okay. I need to make this fucking way bigger. There's a lot of people talking in the chat, and I can't see anything. That's fine. I'll go through them in a minute. Going through it on a weekly, on a day by day basis is extremely important. I'll go over Exo in a minute as well. Yeah, so that is the first step. We're uptrending today. The daily high is put in within London session. The probabilities are it's more like, I say it's likely to get taken out. What I mean is it's more likely to get taken out than this low, right? If one's going to get taken out, I would say it's this. I would also say that it's not too likely that this just remains as the daily high. It's not that likely. So even if this is the drop to see a move higher or not, I'm not basing this off of what I think the Fed is going to do or any of this nonsense. This is literally just pure data. I don't really care about anything else, because data is the only thing that cannot really give me too much of a false play or false advertisements as to what's going on in the market. Okay, so yeah, in simple terms, I'm looking to look for a long today. I mean, for anyone that's interested in my higher time frame outlook, if you want to go through that, what I would say is, right, yeah, I'd say this on the low. I do like this low. If this makes a new high, if this makes a new day, if this takes out previous day high, then I would be expecting these pivots to be holding from here. And I'd be actually a bit more bullish that this is a potential failed auction, but I wouldn't be, banking on that yet, because we haven't really done anything. We're not too far from it, okay? We're not too far from doing that. So yeah. Let me just mark this out. Okay, so we need to still if we take out these highs from previous day, etc., then we can start talking about seeing actually a bigger pivot. But until then, this can still just staircase and bring it back down. And if it closes all the way back down at the lows, today's kind of pivotal. How do we close in relation to this Monday pivot? Is also how I'm always looking at things on a Tuesday. Hence why I wanted to do these on a Tuesday, because it can kind of give us a better outlook. I do like this wick. What I was interested in really was, if we're looking at this overall wick here, this is OB, you can see this wick here, it was a massive wick, so this whole thing here, I wanted to see at least like a partial fill, so we come in and sweeped it within yesterday. So it would be nice to see if this does close back above here, how that starts looking. Okay, yeah, it would be interesting to see how it starts looking, if we start to close above here, because then I'll be looking for much higher prices. Oh yeah, honestly and truthfully. So that's the current situation for Bitcoin. I can go through this. Yes, we've broken down from a range. If it sees any further move down, then we're going to expect lower fucking prices. But my trading outlook is really not like that. I'm looking to make X amount of R monthly or yearly on average. I'm not really looking to 50x today, 100x tomorrow. This is a really professional thing, especially for me in this case. So yeah, get some questions in, but I will go over a lot of the stuff, starting with like TPO questions, anything you kind of want to do, and I'll go over order flow as well. So yeah, we'll go for an hour at least. We'll see how it goes after the hour as well. But I really want to get through any sort of questions anyone has, and yeah, run through a lot. So I apologize if there's any periods of silence. Yeah, so that low. Yeah, let's see if we close above these highs. That's the really important bit, I think, today. How we're going to be closing in relation to previous day's high. And right now we're still internal. I'm also going to be looking for this. How are we here? You can see we've got this volume point of control here. I think this zone as a whole is important to really be holding, unless we start dropping. I mean, all signs for me currently point to upside, and that really only starts to falter if you start to lose daily open again significantly. Then I'm not interested in that. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Let's go through some of the questions. I signed up for Formulation and traded from. I didn't receive. Just drop me a DM. There was an automation project with this at one stage, and it's kind of like the bot has phased out a little bit, so I need to go through some of them manually, or some people on my team will do that as well. But yeah, just drop me a DM with the details, and on Discord probably is better, and I'll do that for you. How should I shape my bias? Today's London make daily high and Asia low look bad. Should I wait to take New York to take Asia's low, or take long with proper place without waiting Asia lows? Right. I mean, the general concept that I go through is, this is my TPO, by the way, that everyone's kind of likes on Twitter, it seems. But you've got London's blue, this is Asia, close, whatever. These lows don't look fantastic, you're right, but also statistically, these highs as well they're not extremely probable to stay in place. So yeah, there's definitely contradicting biases. I wouldn't be just fully up only mode, because like I said, if you start to lose daily open or any sort of volume based support locally, then these lows can get taken in, and if you start to break towards those lows, it's important. But the way I go through everything kind of in relation to bias and checking for that is, okay, always ask yourself this question at the beginning of the day: which direction do you want to be trading in? Okay, which direction offers the most favorable trades? And for me today, that was longs. Although there are poor lows here, my stats tell me that this high has a greater probability of not getting taken, or of getting taken out. Sorry. Okay, so the idea was to look for longs for this to get taken out. It's simple as that. Okay, and then the idea is, okay, I'm going to be looking for longs for this high to be taken out. Where am I going to be looking for those longs? And then that is where you then start formulating, okay, where are the key levels of interest in relation to any sort of down move here we see. You've got a point of control here. What I'll do is I'll move over to Exo for the first time. Give me a second. Where the hell is this? Exo. Okay. You can see here that we also have this naked point of control right here coming in, literally right around here. Okay, at 57.348. This is where I've taken a loss now. I've been stopped out of this short trade, or out of the long trade. Sorry. I'll break that down probably later in the stream as well, and we'll go through that. But ultimately, that trade was based off of like a volume based. I really only trade these volume-based liquidity levels. Exos had some big updates as well. The only other levels of interest really on this chart is like further towards the downside, or it just reclaims where we are now, and starts seeing a move up. But yeah, it would look for a much bigger move to the downside, and if that's the case, then I'm not really interested in trading that. If it does see a much bigger move down, like I said, I'm interested in longs to take that high, and anything down here doesn't suit the bias that I'll be looking for this high to be taken out. Okay, so yeah, I don't want to confuse anyone, but I've just got a very rigid, and hopefully I just had a call with one of my students, and I don't necessarily apply to that because I don't really have the time to do those anymore. But yeah, anyway, I had a call with my student, and we're going over a few of the things, and I was literally just telling him to think about which direction you want to be trading today, and what levels kind of conflict with that idea of the direction you want to be trading today. So yeah, what do you record in terms of stats, highs, lows, pivots? The most influential one is probably high hit rate levels, right? So this stuff is, right, I'll give you on this. So right, if we're going to head back to trading view, this stuff that you see on my chart here, like the daily highs and lows, London session, New York, whatever, anyone can track that. It's very, very easy to, I think, track that, highs, lows, whatever. Now the key part, and even bigger aspect to this all, is where is high, some high area levels that no one's really heard of. Okay, where is price likely to revisit as a magnet that no one's really looking at, and then collect data on those points there. Like there's been days where, for example, on this day here, this is this yesterday, price was like down here upon the open, and there was a high rate level literally above here. So like, how am I going to be trading that high rate level that I know that I've collected? It's got 90% chance to hit on Mondays, for example, and then I go, well, we're down here, so the idea should be look to long towards that level. Where am I going to look to long? Then you start curating. Okay, where's a good idea to long? Is there any good levels on these pullbacks, whatever, to look for this, and then going from there, right? Because the idea is to always have that directional bias first, and if I don't have a clear directional bias, then I'm not trading. Very, very simple. Today, if we're looking at today's price action, there was a clear directional bias, and that's to see the high taken out. Does that have to be right? No. As long as you stick within your risk parameters, etc., it's right over a long period of time. The methods I've gone through for myself, at least. So yeah, levels to track. You can obviously track highs, lows, the days in which just track day specific, hour specific, specific volume, poor highs and lows. But the main part where I actually suggest most people have a look, and no one really does look at this, is curating an edge through levels that aren't really as easy as to the eye as most people think. My high rate level, I don't know, because I don't speak about it with anyone. There's no one that knows apart from one person. I don't know anyone. I don't know if it's naive to say that I haven't heard anyone ever speak about it. But I don't know anyone that ever uses it and tracks it like that way. But it works in that aspect, and that's why I use it as a level that's been tested over a long enough period of time to give me a sufficient edge in directional bias, and that's just through troubleshooting and thinking of different ways of where can price revisit and stuff like that. What's your thoughts about BTC change market on the daily time frame? I don't really care because I don't trade the daily, if I'm honest. Sorry. How do I implement your Exo template in Exo? Import it. Morning Dave, morning mate, Mr. Streams. How the indicator I use on TradingView for the TPO? I'm pretty sure it's just a session time price opportunity. Yeah, just type that in and duplicate it by 4. Okay. What is the delta neutral strategies? Emperor BTC mentioned it and didn't get it. Delta neutral. I'll have to take a look at that. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. I'll take a look at the delta, because yeah, there's tons of different things to be looking at in relation to execution, and we'll head over to the order flow now, because everything I just spoke about was through talking about finding and identifying levels and directional bias, but nothing speaks about how you're going to execute. And the way I've obviously changed the charts probably since the last live stream, so you're all probably new to these ones and what's going on. These are range charts. I will dive into this at some point later without really going over too much of my edge in it, if I'm honest. But Exocharts workspace. I will at some point. I will. There's no point having it if you don't understand how to use it too much. But I will share it with some other more generic settings. But yeah, also using Exocharts to curate an edge. How much delta is coming in at a certain point, tracking that delta, where do you want to be invalidated, etc., etc. It is extremely important to be looking for stuff like that. But I really wanted to come on here to just give a few tips as to. I obviously wanted to come back and do these live streams, but not for the purpose of like market updates and stuff like that, because that can be, you can go anywhere and find some nonsense talking about it. You can go anywhere and talk about it. I want to talk about order flow, Exocharts to an extent, my trading, any queries like problem solving people's trading habits and bad habits, because for example, I'll tell you, one of my students is really struggling with day stops, and it's like the biggest thing I highly recommend anyone out there who hasn't done it implements. Now I see all these I don't know them too well, right? So I just want to talk about this. Prop firms, right, or funded accounts, whatever they do. They obviously implement like a max daily drawdown limit. I think the way some of them implement it is wrong, But I think the overall consensus is they're trying to protect figure out who's the best trader, number one. But ultimately, using a day stop is extremely powerful, okay, for actually determining, for losing days off. If you look back at your calendar journal, how many days exceed a certain value that if you just had all those values back, let's say you had a day stop of $3,000 and you have days where you've lost 9,000, 12,000, and your bad days, bad days tend to just get worse. So implementing a day stop just implementally cuts off all this negative excess that you've been messing with from the get-go. Okay. Yeah, so that's one of the tools. Okay, I'd highly recommend, you just take a look and implement a day stop, number one. Prop firm affiliate links. I'm not one to speak on prop firms or anything. There's only one place where I would trust, mainly because I know the guys a little bit. But apart from that, I wouldn't mess with them, and I just highly, trading with a prop firm, just because you're trading with more money doesn't mean you're going to become profitable, or you think you're trading with more money, you're going to make more money, right? If you can prove to, what's more impressive, look, I'm going to tell you something now. I'm putting this as an open offer out there to anyone who can trade $100, show me 6 months worth of journaling for those $100, $100 account, risking between 1 to 3% risk, what you achieve over the course of 6 months in terms of R multiple. Come back to me and I'm going to talk to you about seriously giving you a bit of money to actually start trading, right? Because, people don't do that, and then they just think doing a prop firm challenge is going to get you somewhere, when in reality it doesn't really instill any good habits into you. So yeah, I just know for a fact, because I've taken on students that have done the same thing, and they've struggled in a way that it's not great. How do you backtest? I've seen that 2021, 2024 trade. Well, that's why you can start. So someone's. Oh, Lucifer, nice one, mate. I see you around quite a bit here. Well, I see in the comments sometimes. How do you backtest? I've seen that 2021, 2024 trade differently. Well, they do, obviously. That's why you have to adapt your trading style, continuously journal. I think a lot of people just say that it trades differently without any sort of data or figures behind it. Do they trade differently? Are there like certain similarities? What are the similarities? What are the hit rates? And so, yeah, it's just about remaining diligent in recording your data to actually have a definitive answer on on statistics and what you're going to be doing today. It's hard to fuck up if you've got conviction behind your trades and your data. It's hard for me to go into today and not know what I'm doing, because I've got all this data behind me to go, look at this. London High's got a 0.4% chance of staying as the current daily high, right? If I know that over the course of 3-4 years for this specific day on a Tuesday, how can I go into today with low conviction? Like, I just can't. So I'm not saying that because it's to like act on a high horse or anything. I'm saying that because I want you lot to do the same so you can feel the same way. But it's such a big game changer to understand that when you have that much conviction in the trade and the data, like, because that data points aren't lying to me. So that's the aim of the game, And the other thing I've also mentioned is that, monthly return. I see a lot of people trying to aim for this 60, 70, 80 monthly R return, whatever it may be. Like, they're trying to double the account every fucking day. But in reality, 3, 4, 8 to 10% a month is like realistically all you need to see any sort of is really good. I'm not actually achieving that. I'm achieving more than that, but 8-10% is what you need to achieve. Categorically over the course of a year, that's like an exceptional return. People are just not prepared to grow slowly, hence they do not grow. So that's the current situation. People just cannot grow slowly, and that's why you just will never grow. Would you rather grow slowly or not grow at all? And that's the aim of the situation, unfortunately. Grow slowly or don't grow at all. Give me a second. Yeah, grow slowly or don't grow at all. Can you win in trading simply using price action? Yeah, you can. You can definitely win in trading just using price action. The problem is people that want to use price action also can't be bothered to journal or write down any sort of findings they're looking at from the price action and just think, that's it, they're done. So, yeah. What would be a good platform to backtest? Excel. Don't overcomplicate things. Don't overcomplicate things. Just use Excel. I should probably stream. I was thinking of streaming on Twitter next week as well, or X if you want to call it, whatever you want to call it now. Yeah. How can you join trades without much hassle? Use CMM. Link below. It's free. Yeah, you can get it for free. But yeah, what I'm actually doing, I'll say this, I won't give away too much, but we are building a place where data collection, etc., is going to be simplified for a lot of people, because I think you lot know I talk about it a lot. It's just something that I don't see out there too much. Certain points of data collection, problem solving. It's extreme. It's crazy. So like once that's built and is available to you, I'll be really excited to share that with you. Hopefully you find it valuable. It's not just going to be an indicator or signal type thing. So, yeah. I'm losing for 2 straight years. Feel very discouraged. If you want the honest truth of what I would say to you is, if you're going to quit. The thought of quitting shouldn't even really come into your brain at all. At least for me, it never came into my brain, the thought of quitting. And if it did, I probably weren't cut out for it. I don't know. But you just got to power, honestly, that's not to say you're not going to make it, just power through the moments, right? I really would just say that. Yeah, just power through those moments. Yeah, just power through those moments. Where's my... On which time frame are you watching for trades? I'm usually using range charts, so I don't actually... Newsflash. I don't actually execute on time-based charts anymore, ever. Maybe sometimes 15 minutes, but I never... Actually, I don't. I don't execute on time-based charts at all anymore. Okay? So it's like, if there is... Let me think like this. A level, I will gather my levels using 30-minute or 15 minutes time frames, but then the actual execution will occur on range-based charts. And then that is how, I then execute. Yeah. Okay. Am I planning to do any calls? I mean, I've done... Yeah. I'll put it lightly, yeah. There is, but it's not in the typical fashion that I think most people would put it out there. Is there a way to get access to your calls still if we already have a X account? Yeah, DM me, Offset. I'll say that. Just drop me a DM and we can sort something out. So, yeah, just... I think without sugarcoating anything, I'm not going to sugarcoat here, and I say it's the same thing to my student, the one person. I could go on there and I could waffle to him for an hour on end about fucking a different strategy every week. Like, if you don't think I can come on here and cherry pick a strategy to feed you all every week and just blah 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 blah, I could fucking do that with ease, and people would be like, wow, that's great, that's fantastic. But that's not the importance of what's actually going to make you money in this game in the long run. If you want to do this if you want to do this for 5 minutes, for a few days, few weeks, make money, then I can do that. But if you want to do this forever, not forever, but for a long time, you won't see me disappearing within the next 20 to 30 to 40 years, really. then this is the case. You don't want to be looking at new strategy after new strategy. There's other things you have to be building upon, and that's your mentality, your execution, your strategy, your back testing, everything on that on that front. When looking to trade a retest of a level, what do you like to see on Exo before you execute a trade? I don't necessarily trade like retest, if you call it that. When we say retest, it's quite a, what's the word? A vague saying. What are we saying is a retest? Because pass through level, is this a retest? Like a retest is a very, very vague opportunity thing to say. What I would say is think about what most people are trading and then just do the opposite. What are people saying to trade, and then don't trade like that. For example, I need to turn this all off. It's all going crazy on my watch. Like, for example, these, what are really good levels? Volume-based liquidity levels. I really like to trade off of these, if I'm honest. But that's about it. You can obviously trade off of, for example, like I'm saying, let's say price trending up, breaks a level, retests, and then moves up. How often do you get a perfect retest like that? From my experience, I don't trade like this, but I don't see that. Also, where's your invalidation? Like, where you're entering long here. If you want to see a long here, where's your invalidation? Is it previous swing points? That's fair enough. You're going to be targeting new highs. Fair enough. That's just not the way I trade. I don't necessarily trade conventional setups, and that's not saying that they're wrong by any means. But I just don't trade them. I don't trade. Sometimes I trade market structure breaks. You can call it that, but most of the time I'm trading reversals. I found a way to pick out days like this on yesterday, for example, where I can get into a trade down here and I won't take any profits until it's reached up here and I've got an extremely tight stop loss, and I achieve a really high R multiple on those days. It really does get you thinking, especially when you start speaking with other people that are in a similar category to you, although they have complete different strategies. There's a lot of stuff clearly not being shared out there. Okay, this is a better question, I would say. Using Exo, what might you look for to indicate momentum changing? Okay, it's a bit better. So it's not like a niche down question on that. So what I'd look at for momentum changing is I would look for and say spikes in volume. So you can see on the top row here, this is the volume. What is the volume? Also, I'm using aggregated data. I forgot last time we spoke, I haven't aggregated data. There wasn't even an Exo. Big update. So there's spikes in volume. How's the volume? 63 million, 100 million here. But at your level of interest that you're wanting to see a momentum shift, what is the volume there compared to the previous 20 or 30 candles? On Exo, you can eyeball this. Is what I recommend. So I'll just upload this to a bit of a... Right, so on Exo you can eyeball this and go, look at this. So if we just pick a level, I remember this level is good, I think. So you can go, look, we're coming into a level of interest here. Okay, this is a level of interest. We've got 138 million approaching, 142 million approaching. This is a spike in volume. This is a potential shift in momentum. I'm not saying to overcomplicate this stuff. What is the volume doing now? What was it doing previously? And that typically can, especially with range charts, because you're seeing each candle is the same height. It took this much volume and this much delta to move price the same distance it did in the previous candle. So this is really useful to see, in my opinion, where you can see spikes in volume, open interest increasing here, and hits a look that we can see here. Open interest increasing, positive delta, same thing again. Whoops. Oh no, that's not good. Delete that. Open interest increasing here, positive delta. Nonetheless, as soon as these points are lost, okay, you can then go, okay, that was the momentum shift here, with all those the trapped open interest at the tops, the volume spike, and you'd obviously want to see liquidation. So that's what you've got here, wrecked short long, and that's how you'd so momentum shifts, so almost like reversals, right? Through my experience, that's what I'm looking for, and that's what I know a lot of people do look for. It's literally spikes in volume, liquidations, trap traders, and you can do that very, very simply without it making it too complex. This is not good. This is a bug. Okay, we're gonna have to fix that because that shouldn't be the case. If I change it to this, that's gone. Okay, but yeah, that's what that's looking at there. How long have you been trading? And yeah, God, a long time now. I'm still fairly young. How long has it been? 27? It's almost 7 years, I think. Yeah, say 6 years. Fully 6 years. I'm having trouble with OI and Delta. How do you differentiate between trap traders versus both? Yeah, this is a very common thing people miss. I'm gonna tell you what grinds my fucking gears. That really pisses me off. I'm gonna be so real with you. Is someone that will come on to Exocharts or looks at footprint in general and will just do this. Look at all the longs that opened up here. Okay, so look at all these new longs that opened up here. How on this earth could you just determine that there are new longs just through just looking at the market buys? Because market buys is separated, for example, just market buys alone is separated by shorts closing and new longs entering. So this could just be mainly shorts closing rather than new longs entering. You have to have open interest into the factor. Now, bringing that with that in mind, actually, there is this text tab I created, which will tell us this very easily just by looking at this. So you can see here, this is the open interest delta at each price level. So you can see here that we've got 19 million in positive open interest with positive delta, positive delta market buys coming in. So at this point, there actually is new longs, right? But at the very, very top here, you can see there's negative OI with positive delta. That's actually new shorts closing, majoritively. So it's about finding out what the majority are doing and differentiating from that. And you can really do that through open interest and delta. Literally split it into 4 quadrants. Open interest, positive OI, positive delta, positive OI, negative delta, negative OI, negative delta, negative OI, positive delta. Those 4 things, split it into those 4 quadrants. Split it into those 4 quadrants and make your life a little bit easier, because you can't really determine whether traders are trapped or anything like that without open interest or without some form of advantage, on that sense. So, average trouble. This template is sick. Are you posting it on your site? Yeah, I will at some point. I will at some point, without doubt. It just takes some. Why not? I'll take some time because I haven't really explained it, so I didn't want to just post it on my site without really explaining anything, about it, because there's multiple configurations on it. So, for example, what I mean is, if I'm on the range 1000 chart now, but you can go through the hotkeys here and switch over to a range 2500 chart, okay, and then that will instantly change that, and I change the actual range chart I'm using based on the time at the bottom here, and yeah, there's a few factors I haven't explained yet, but they will be explained. Okay, they will be explained. So I've answered. Yeah, I'll release it at some point. Okay, I'll release that at some point, don't worry. Let's head over to TradingView again. This is, so if we're just looking at Bitcoin here, right? Actually, I want to bring some live info for you here. Making sure, okay, you can't see what I'm doing, which is okay. Let me just do something. I'm going into my folder here. So if we're looking, So this, that's a really low. So today's a, okay. So today's a Tuesday. So I've had to filter my stats for Tuesday. Yeah, this high. So this has a good chance of being the daily low. Where is this? Whoops, down here. I didn't mention that this is sponsored by Wix as well. I should really mention that. Tuesday low. You don't want to lose this. You don't want to lose this pivot here though. You don't want to lose this POC. So you've got the daily low, the daily high. The daily high is it's 5 times. It's 5 times more likely to be taken out than the daily low. That's just my data behind it. So yeah, that really only starts to come into caution when you start to lose further downwards levels. Do you enter therefore just after the confirmation of the level where their enters? Yeah, I do. Enter. Are you short bias for today? I'm more long bias. Yeah, if I'm honest. Although I can be wrong. You know, although I'm saying there's a 5 times more likelihood that the pivot high gets taken out than this low. Right, this isn't, you know, people will be like, it's more probable we see the high taken out. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm saying like there's categorical data behind it that I've tracked that it's more likely that this high gets taken out than a low. So I have to be bullish. Like, I have to be, you know, I don't know the best way to explain this. I don't know. I have to be bullish. The stats can't give me false information. That's what I'm trying to say. And the stats are saying that there's a greater probability that we go to the upside by 5x. You know, so that's why I'd be looking for that. Obviously, that can change, but that's only really if we start to lose. Yeah. I'd only really be worried if we start to lose daily open, and that's still far down. So it's like even if we lose, and I'm well aware that this is the lows here of the day. So like what I'm saying is that any sort of movement towards here offers an opportunity to long, to see this as a pivot. Yeah, so that's where I'm thinking from. And if it loses all that, then yeah, we're looking for ultimately the poor lows from previous days to be taken out. Yeah. I appreciate all the comments, by the way, for coming back after I've come back for a while. So, that POC is good. Well, after the high is taken, this is the thing. It's kind of like it's out of my control. Like I don't really. If the high is taken, this is what I'm just saying. If the high is taken, right? Okay. Which my stats would say is high. Is more probability, higher probability that it does. Well, it could just do that. It could do. But I would be watching, and if it just continues to head above and hold above the high, the Monday high, well then it can still pull back. But I would still be then looking for higher prices, and that's again off of data. It's not just of me just saying the lows in or whatever. And this is the thing. You have to have undeniable proof behind everything you're doing, and that's what I always do. You know, if I'm saying to myself, you know, someone will ask me, why am I making this decision? It has to be based on data. Like, I can't just say because of this, because I think so, because of hunch. That's just incorrect to do that, you know. Like, I can't just do that. It's wrong to do that. At least in my books. Like, you know, if I was so good at it, I would just be like fucking having a gut hunch book out and start picking trades left, right, and center for no reason. So, yeah. Yes. Thank you, man. Am I hedged? Am I hedged? Kind of. Would I be hedged? If I was someone that's just fully in Bitcoin, yes, probably. And I'd only just close it if you reclaim $61,000. It's kind of, I think it's fairly simple on that front. If you get daily close above $61,000, you close the hedge. That's the view I'd have. But it really is dependent on how today, my weekly outlook is dependent on how today closes, kind of, or next, how we close in relation to Monday range. So yeah. But the important thing is to just take each day on a day-by-day basis and not be too trigger happy as to what's going to be happening in a few weeks or a few fucking days or whatever. Just take everything as a day by day. I know someone that tries to be a scalper and then they're looking at the daily time from there. What the fuck are you doing? You're trying to trade the 5 minute, 2 minute, and then you're looking at the daily time frame for bias. Like, how does that make sense? Wouldn't you be going back and collecting data on like the 5 minute pivots and stuff like that? Yeah, we can do that. The thing is, it would just be it'd give people a lot of usage to our data. Am I treating? Yes, that's collecting. So yeah, we will do that in the future. We just have to find a regulated way to do it. Excessive mouse clicks. Yeah, sorry, I'm quite a quick user of the mouse. Good morning, luxury. High hit rate omitting session height. Can you point me in the right direction on what I could do to look for those? What thought process should I adopt? Thanks. I didn't get the question too much, but I'm guessing you're asking what mindset what you should be doing to look for percentage highs being revisited and stuff like that. And what I would say, I apologize, I'm just thinking. Do to look for those. What thought process should I adopt? I mean, the thought process to adopt is when looking to gather statistics is literally to just sit there and think about what you're going to gather and go take it one by one. Like for me, for example, I would go, okay, today or the next few days, I'm going to create a spreadsheet and I'm going to mark out the hour and the day of every, the hour, the day, and the session of every single pivot high and low put in on the chart. Of every pivot, of every daily high and low on the chart. So we would go, look, so let's just go to yesterday. You can use this indicator. I like this one. I can use this. It just marks out the daily highs and lows for me. So I'd go, look, the high of the day, 9 a.m. UTC, the low of the day, 1 a.m. UTC. Okay? And I'd jot that down. Dush. Asia session, London session. Next one. Because then after I've collected it and in date order, as well, I can then format it to have specific days as well. And I just go through. It doesn't take that long at all, really. It's a very fairly basic information to be collecting. So, yeah. Question is literally. Oh, higher levels. Wait a minute. Okay. So you're looking for high hit rate levels is different from like what I was just discussing there. The high hit rate levels are, yeah, you got to think about where would you expect. God, I'm thinking. How can I explain this without just giving anything away? Well, I would say, if I'm looking to gather high hit rate levels, one of them, are think about levels that most people talk about, and then, oh god, I can't. It just came to me one day. If I'm not gonna try and sugarcoat it, I'm just gonna problem solve that. Which level do you think is revisited a lot? Okay, okay. And then how can you test that? So I'm trying to think of an example without giving it away, but I can't think of an example. Um, okay, there's one. I'll give this away because I spoke about this before, and it's not the end of the world. I don't care about talking about this. I'll tell you like this. Right, I can. Whatever you're doing, listen, because I haven't discussed this on stream in detail ever before, and it's not going to necessarily give it away too much. One of the things that I spoke about, but I've mentioned this in a what was it? It's a thread before or something like that. But it's really important. So just what we're about to do, pay attention. Okay, so everyone looks for gaps. Everyone likes gap fills. Okay. Everyone likes looking for where is this? Gaps. CME gaps, whatever gap may be, stock gaps, whatever the fuck it may be. So my thought process this day, and this is something I don't use as heavily anymore, okay, but just go and think about this for a second because it will really think about this. What I then did was go, okay, everyone likes to trade gaps. Everyone's got the same fucking gaps to trade from. People still collect data on those gaps, so they're still, people use them. They might be highly used. How can I create my own gaps, and how can I trade from that? How does that give me any sort of edge? Okay, so what I would then do, right? I'll show you this. I've had this for a long time. You can probably see by the styling of the actual template that how long I've had this for. Let it load up. I would then go into Exocharts. Okay, and this is how I did it easily because I did it through Exo. And I would look, and you can create your own gaps. Okay, you can create your own gap-based charts on Exo. And then I'd go back and start testing this. And the way you do that is by having sessions. Yeah, so look, so I've got my own session, so this is fine. This is like my luxury session, which is like my basic. I've always released it about the UTC times 0 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 8, 8 to 0. I've released that, but then I've just gone chart use only selected session. So now this chart is only going to be showing New York. Right, it's New York session. So all of a sudden, each day, okay, you've got a chart, New York session prints, and you have a gap. You'll have a gap fill, right? So Thursday closed here, or for New York session, the next New York session opened here. You filled the gap, right? And you start going through, and there is significant. Look, just there's some edge in this, without sugarcoating it. There's definitely some edge in this, in doing this. Especially if you're being extremely custom with the stuff you're looking for. So I'm hoping this does give you some ways to think about and how I went through the thought process of everyone trades gaps. What about custom gaps? How can I do that? Exocharts, filtering out, custom session times based on volume, spikes, etc. And you get this. Look at this. So the New York session on Tuesday closes here. It opens the next day down here. Everyone might be bearish. It squeezes a bit, hits the close, and then sees the drop. Okay, so it's a common thing, and the question is, it's common, but it requires work. You can create this, but then notice, I'm going to trade every gap. What are the stats for these? Then you have to, because Exo doesn't have this. You can go collect it manually, right? What is the stats that a gap fill is filled every 2 days? Look at this, right? Closed down here, opened up here, major move back down throughout that next session on the Friday, so it's about which days work the best, and I'm hoping that is at least of some small value to you all. Well, yes, people rely on gap fills. This is the thing. This is something that's completely different from my actual high hit rate levels that I use. I still use this a lot. But also in this case, this is people rely on gap fills that are publicly available, necessarily, that everyone just looks at and are extremely common. Now, what about if you start, because you can create gap fills for 1 hour period, right? For example, 8 to 9, for example. Imagine you've got a gap fill from 8 to 10 o'clock. Okay, you can create a session that is just customizable from every hour apart from 8 to 10. What's the probability that 8 to 10 hour provides some value and you get a fill of that 8 to 10 hour session? then go back and test it. So it's literally about testing the data that you curate. Yeah, it's going to be hard, comrade. That would be difficult, but it's possible because TradingView isn't too accurate in that front yet. Yeah. So he's asked, is it possible to gather stats on 30-minute MPOCs, etc., using just TradingView? It is, but the tick sizes, I use raw POC tick sizes and stuff like that, so yeah, it's going to be easier with Exo. Hopefully you find this useful, guys, but just let me know if there's any more questions as well. Yeah. But like I said, I've been talking about strategy and different things for a while. None of this matters if you can't be disciplined and go and journal everything you do, or go and spend hours and hours testing and gathering the data, or have a day, not be able to stick to a day stop, or full flaunt of your risk management in any way, or anything. All the strategies and etc. All of that shit. None of it matters. Yeah, Nick. Yeah, I mean, no problem. Just DM me. Like I said, just DM me. I'm gonna get through them as I can. I didn't really anticipate all this kind of growth of people really DMing me as much as it has. So I would have just apologized for that. For how long it takes sometimes, but it's really, really busy. I was going to say, yeah, and so next year the aim would be to... Yeah. Actually, I'm not going to say that yet. I'm not going to say next year or any sort of deadline or anything. Just, scaling the trading up significantly, even more. So yeah, I'm looking to that next year. What did you use that location on TradingView chart to draw your volume profile? My volume profile. The fixed range tool, you mean? Like this? Have I got I mean, you can go and download my templates on the website now for free. Just go and download those for now, and then maybe in a week or so I'll release this a new version. Yeah, this is the volume profile tool, and you can see here we haven't lost anything yet. Like I said, number one, I always say this. I said this in writing, but I want to say it in person as well because I always say it, and I think it's the number one important thing. You want to know at the beginning of every day, if you have no plan yet, and you're really struggling to come up with a plan for yourself, or whatever it may be, you need to think about what you want to do. Okay, where do you want to get involved in the market, right? Well, okay, so I'm going to write this out for you all, okay? So you need to know your directional bias first, right? This is going to be... Okay, you want to know your directional bias first. And this could include, you need to have a routine check for this. Like, what is it has London session put in a poor high, etc. London session put in a poor low, has New York session put in a poor high, has the daily put in a poor high, low, whatever it may be. Right? Routine level, so London high, London high, low, whatever that may be. This is all irrelevant. Just figure out which direction you want to be trading, long or short, ideally, right? And that can be based off of your routine levels checks, your biases, whatever it may be. Like for me, it's like all the stuff I just mentioned, my higher rate levels, all of that stuff, gap fills, whatever. And then after you know that, so you're going to go short or long. Let's just say, for example, today's long. Okay? Then you need to know what you want to see, or no, where you want to get involved, what you want to see there, and ideally when. This is like the basis of like creating a plan. Just do this every day for a plan, and tell me if you stick to it. Because, so let's just say we've decided through all of the directional buy stuff that we've checked through that we want to get long. Okay, where do we want to get long? Well, for example, a specific level, so volume-based liquidity, POC-based support resistance, whatever it may be. That's where. What do you want to see? Trapped traders, spike in volume, liquidations, and then a close above. Okay, that's what we want to see. Cool. And when do I want to see it? Well, and when don't you want to see it as well? This is important. Well, I want to see it ideally within New York session or London session, so we can have then time to actually take out that new and form a new daily high. When don't I want to see it? At the end of the day, at the very, very end of the day, because the likelihood then that you're actually going to still take out pivot is, there's not much time left in there. So this is what I mean, right? Is just creating a plan like that. Hopefully that makes sense, by the way. Like, just creating a basic plan. Directional bias, where, what, when, and then go through like that. Every day. And create accountability with someone. Did you go through my trade? No, I didn't go through the trade today. I got stopped out of this. But I'll talk through it. Because I don't want to talk through it too much. I'll talk through it. It was not on this. It was on this. You see, I'll talk through it in basic terms. Price approaches a volume-based liquidity level. Okay? That level being this one here. So look on the left-hand side of the chart. On the bottom left. So by the way, where I mark out all my levels from is this chart here. Okay, this green one here. So I'm marking this out on my main chart. Right, so this is what I've marked out here. I've then seen into the level, liquidations, open interest increasing. Well, no, a bit of open interest increasing. That doesn't matter too much. And spike in volumes. So mainly the spike in volume with liquidations. The key part is then I've seen all of this minus 51 delta trapped, million delta trapped. Again, I'm looking at the delta minimum and not just the actual final delta value. So I've seen this as trapped delta, okay, upon this candle closing. So I've then got the entry man validation down here, targeting for new London highs. That's the reasoning behind it, right? As simple as that. Unfortunately, obviously, it didn't play out, and that was the end of it. And you move on to the next trade. But you don't just constantly enter, re-enter, re-enter, re-enter. So obviously, in this case, it might still just continue moving up to the highs. But I've just got these rules in place where, quite frankly, there's nothing anyone can tell me to kind of dictate the way I'm going to end up trading it. Most people use swing, internal, and fractal structure. You can look at this stuff. I mean, like I covered structure at the beginning of the stream. And when I'm talking about structure, I would really always be referring to what is price doing today and today only. Because that is going to give me a heads up. So today, high, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high. That's how you easily track structure. Most of you are intraday traders. I'm assuming, like, how many of you are sitting here taking one trade a week or one trade every 3 weeks? You're not. You're trading you're trying to trade 15 minute, 5 minute, 30 minute, an hour max, right? And doing that, why does it make sense to be looking at what the fucking weekly's doing? It doesn't. So you have to be. I've just nailed it down to a set look back period being, for example, today's open, because that is, it is more likely today continues to see upside. Through the stats, number one, that London highs has a good chance of getting taken out. I'm not even saying London high. I'm saying this specific hours, a pivot put in within this specific hour. Okay. Anyway, but then you've got the high-low structure, whatever. So putting it that to this period, it makes it so much easier, because otherwise I can be going, look, we're in a range, we're at the top of the range, I'm looking to short. it's still perfectly fine to say all of this, but off of the data that, today is uptrending, this is a poor. I'm looking for upside to continue. Okay, so hopefully that's how I'm looking at that structure in that sense. Cover one time frame, yeah. So the only time I really switch onto the daily time frame sometimes is if I'm looking at what is the daily structure doing, right? Is the daily one time framing. So, for example, going back to here. Hopefully, by the way, can you let me know if the quality is good? I'm not streaming on my Windows PC anymore. I'm fully on MacBook right now, so let me know if it's okay. If it's okay, if I've done an okay job. But let's say, for example, I've come onto the chart on Friday, right? And I've seen that the last 3 days are one time framing down, right? If that is the case, because that doesn't happen often, if I see if there's two or more one time framing candles, right? Generally three, like for example like this. So I've seen the third day close like this. I'm like, okay, anything beyond like this, I'm not trading short. I'm not trading long. Sorry, I'm not trading long. I can't trade long because it's the bias, the way it is. So I check this every day just to cover my ass, because I've seen days like this where, I've had high hit rate levels at the very peaks, and just price continues down and down. So I don't want to be participating in those days like that, and just prevent me from trading a very, very aggressively moving market. Yeah, exactly. So if we just go, exit this. Well, the way I'm looking at it is like the aggressiveness of a trending move. This isn't an aggressive trending move. Obviously, if we're looking here, this is nothing. This is not one time framing. What would be one time framing is if this closed up here, for example, and then the next day closed up here. Then on the fourth day, so 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm fucking very cautious about trading anything apart from longs. So yeah, that's the case. And there's a cool down period of like 2 days. So like for example, it was one time framing down, 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 and then you have this 1 day, second day. Okay, now you can kind of end up trading it again, reasonably. Yes, yeah, exactly that. So I'm looking at what's the average volume, or you can, again, I've got that as well. Volume's a bit harder to track, if I'm honest with you as well. So it's more like this is an eyeballing thing for execution. But I have got average volume per hour per day, and go through that as well and compare when I'm executing on that front, what's the average volume doing. But as a you don't need to do that. I'm gonna be honest with you, you don't need to do that. It's more so about your eyeballing and in this case for execution purely there. To check for that spike in volume, you don't necessarily need to see or know. You can just look at the previous 20, 30 candles. How is the volume now comparing to them? And going from there. Are there any final questions before I kind of wrap this up? I don't want to be doing this too long. Yeah, everyone can have different opinion on one time framing. It's none of this stuff is just straightforward. Everyone's gonna have different rules and opinions. I'm just telling you what works for me, and that is if it's one time framing, I'm either not trading or I'm trading in the direction of that one time framing move. Yeah. Also subscribe to the channel. Would be nice to see 5K eventually. Yeah. So great to see you live. So much to learn. Thank you. Yeah, relative comparison. Give me a second, everyone. Okay, yeah, as I was saying, um, okay, so relative comparison to most recent price action in actual, yeah, I would definitely say, yeah, relative. Yeah, Nikhil, contact me via Discord if you have any questions on that front. But yeah, I'm hoping this is something that you can all go back and rewatch and re-listen to. Again, I'm always active on X, Twitter for any sort of questions, queries. A lot of interesting stuff coming built. Exocharts will be implementing some really cool stuff. I think some highly requested functions as well that a lot of you have been asking for. What books do I recommend reading? Best Loser Wins, Tom Eucard. Listen to that. Read that. My favourite book, if I'm honest with you, is that. But yeah, I say that, but I still disagree with some of the principles in there. But that's for another day. I'm hoping you really appreciate this one. Again, share this around, and again, next week I might be live on Twitter as well, so you can catch me on there. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you all.